and especially our leaders, do not believe that the #1 objective of the church is to reach the lost. Period. And let me tell you this, if you start doing evangelism, church is going to get messy. Amen. You cannot do evangelism and it not be messy. You're going to deal with people in their lives. You're going to come across people with stuff they're going through. You cannot be ultra-conservative and do evangelism. Amen. I'm trying to find a careful way to say that. You cannot. Because you have to invariably be patient with the growth process of people. It now takes about 27 members to produce one baptism. Now I understand that in our conference, I came from South Central Conference, where the majority of churches in North America are like, Mr. President, I think like under 50 members. The majority of the churches in North America are small churches. All right? So they at least should be getting 2 baptisms. Right? But it says now it takes 27 members to produce one baptism, whereas from 1913 to 1980, it took only about 15 members. The figure indicates this number is on the rise, heading quickly towards 30. So the majority of our churches are somewhere between 15 members and 30 members. That means that we might get 1 convert. To me, that just says we are not interested, for real. Right. We can have Sabbath school lesson studies on witnessing. Yeah. I mean, we can go to camp meeting and get inspired. But at the end of the day, our hearts are not getting soul winning. This is the terminology that they have used to describe how our church is getting older. All right? Now watch this. This is a trick. The median age of North America is 36 years old. Right. Of North America. All right? That's good. The United States is a young country, amen, both in history and by actual age. The average age in North America is 36 years old. You got that? Okay. All right? But the median age of an Adventist in North America is 51 years old. Wow. So the majority of our country are young adults. The majority of our churches are people planning for retirement. Have mercy. Right? So the church has left the building. Roger Dudley, who was a professor at Andrews when I was there, he did a study on why our young people are leaving the church. All right, he says, it seems reasonable to believe that at least 40 to 50% of Seventh-day Adventist teenagers in North America are essentially leaving the church by their middle 20s. So at the point that they go for higher education or they leave your house, they leave the church. Now, this is my suggestion. I'm doing my doctoral work on this. I understand what you're saying, but this is what I believe. I believe our kids left at 12. Now how can you say that? Because our kids don't leave the church when they get freedom. Our kids leave the church when they're in prison. I think they leave at home. They leave at home. They leave at home. They're just waiting to break. They're just waiting for the opportunity. As soon as I get out of this house, I'm out of here. They just get up and leave. Yeah, it's true. They leave at home. That's a whole nother discussion. Here's some more statistics. By the time they are in their mid-20s, 48% will at some time have dropped out of the church or become inactive. 40 to 50% of those who are baptized members in their teens are no longer active members. All right? This is just agreeing with what y'all already know. After 10 years, I like his study because his study looks at them while they're teenagers, and then Dudley, this is the Value Genesis study, and why are you believing you've heard of all this, Value Genesis Part 2 and all this stuff. He looks at them for 10 years, and then he shows us what happens with them after 10 years. After 10 years, only 55% attend church regularly. Only 21% hold some office or service position. And only 45% pay tithe regularly. Now let me talk about that for a minute. So we all know, let's just be honest, that the people that are financing the church are people that are from the builder generation. These are people who served in World War II and maybe even up to Vietnam. So are generally people in their 60s and up. Yeah. These are the ones financing the church. But as I'm experiencing at Liverpool, that generation is slowly but surely drifting away. And eventually what's going to happen is, it ain't going to be no money. So y'all don't care about the spiritual part, so let's talk about the money part. There will be no money in the church. And we just throw this out. Because our young folk are so angry with the church, because of the way they were treated when they got pregnant out of wedlock or something like that, they're not interested in giving a dime to the institution. And so people say, well, that's because they don't love the Lord. And they don't love it. And that's just on them. I did everything I could. Really?
Come on now.
I mean, really?
I love them.
All right.
And by the way, can I throw this out here? These are, because, you know, Adventism moves you up several socioeconomic steps. Many of us, when we joined the church, we were living in the projects. Or your parents. Because the tent meeting generally was set up in a socio-economic setting that was generally low. So we appealed to poor people. And so when poor people join our church, but the average church is also, the average church man, it just creates a different person. I mean, because of our teaching and our emphasis on education and health, man, we end up sending our schools to sending our kids to our schools, and then they go to Oakwood. And so whereas when we were lower income individuals, our kids now have PhDs. The first reason that young adults cite in research as to why they're leaving is hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. Second thing, how much time do I have? What time? Alienation. They're alien, they don't feel a part. Number three, irrelevance. The church is not practical. It's irrelevant. Intolerance, Lord have mercy. Not understanding. Like, let me say something real quick. Like the music issue is like, it should be old business by now. Like, whether you have drums or not in the church, come on now. Come on, man. Are you still on that? Statements encouraging enthusiasm and worship. I mean, you don't believe the Bible. The Bible says raising with the temple and dance.
Yes.
But you have, so we don't believe the Bible. But Ellen White, there's a bunch of, I mean, really,
Yes, sir.
we are intolerant.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Convenience. They have no reason to stay. And this is in order. Personal conflict with people, no reconciliation. And then finally, doctrinal reasons not given. Now, the amazing thing about this is a hobby of mine, so I'm going to be right for a little bit. It's like, you know, people have often, especially if you do Latino evangelism, one of the main things that you will hear people say, these people ain't ready to join the church. I mean, if you do work, am I telling the truth? That's the first thing they're going to say. Hey, okay. Well, you know why they're saying they don't leave the church because they're not being grounded in the faith. All right. So all the statistics say that people don't leave the church because they lack information. People leave the church because of relationship issues. Every single thing up here is relationship. The last reason is even relationship. They leave because you never gave them a reason why not to go to the movies. That was legitimate. I mean, you got an account for Blockbuster, and you bring movies home and you watch it, and then you tell them not to go to the movies. And so now that they're asking you questions, you don't know how to answer them, and you get frustrated and just placate them. And so then they throw up two fingers and say, "Please, I'll holler at you." Bye. Christ method. That's it. You know, one of the things I discovered, sometimes people assume, well, you're a young adult, so, let me tell you something about this. Listen, just the population of Cleveland in general, the average age of people like 40. Like the population in Cleveland in general is not young adult. People are leaving Cleveland. They're leaving our conference for the most part. And they're migrating south. People, young adults. For opportunity, right? Yeah. I mean, that's what we're going to have a mission. So just letting you know, by and large, people are leaving the north. They call it the Rust Bowl effect. And they're heading and migrating south. Back in the day, they left the south and they migrated north. So it just happens. It happens in cycles. So, but one of the things I discovered is that the same principles that you use for evangelism, which I'm suggesting is Christ's method, work for any demographic. Like the initial thing, and some people probably already think I'm going to say, the way you reach young adults is you got to bring in some pumping music. And all they want to do is just have a good time. All they want to do is be entertained. Not the young adults I hang with. Amen. Not the ones I went to school with. That's a misnomer. They want depth. Amen. Amen. And they will go visit the Sunday church. Amen. And it used to be back in the day that we were like the most educated and the deep preachers and one of the most depth in our community. Not anymore. All right. These preachers is laying the word down. See, again, understand now. A lot of this is predicated on generational differences. See, old school generation, builders and boomers are loyal to institutions. They're just going to be loyal to the institutions. I'm not there about policy. We will defend foolishness in our church. Many of us get in arguments on our job. Nobody has ever been won to the faith of any denomination because they convinced them through argument. Amen. Amen. How are you going to humiliate somebody on your job? I mean, you're going toe-to-toe with them, and you hold that one point in the back, and you let them go. Well, I was up on Sunday for this reason, and you let all the folks standing around the water cooler, and you just wait for it, and then you're like, well, show me one text. If you can show, I'll put $100 on it. Now you're going to go back now. Right. And I will give you $100 if you can show me one text in the Bible that says that the seventh-day Sabbath has been changed. Can I get a witness out there? Can I get a witness out there? That's happening. Huh? And so you hold that thing and you just humiliated that person. And then when the evangelistic meeting comes, you're like, hey, don't you want to come and hear some of this truth? No! Amen. You just embarrassed me. How do I get on this? So Christ's method is the way to redeem and save not just young adults, although we're talking about them, but anybody who agrees with that right now. His way works. Yeah. So watch this now. This is not in your notes. Discipleship equals replacing yourself. Now here's the thing. This is painful. When Jesus came here and selected the 12, which I'm about to talk about in a minute, his main objective was to be around for 3.5 years to replace himself, not 30. If Jesus came and tried to do ministry the way we do it in our churches as leaders, right, then he'd still be here. The whole purpose of discipleship is to replace yourself. You remember Saul, right? Saul's time was up. His time was up. And God clearly pointed in the direction of David. But Saul didn't know his season was up. Amen. Amen. See, now here's the thing. Many of us are so, our identity is in our positions. Watch, right? So the idea of giving it up means to give up who we are. But notice, what God is really trying to get you to do is go to a new season. Yes. See, here's the thing. Yes. The new season now is even more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's, it's more gratifying than the season of being a magnified. To pour into somebody and see them do better than you can. No. There's more joy out of pouring into some young person and seeing them take what you did to the next level. No succession plan. Discipleship is replacing yourself. Next year, we should see you and somebody else. I don't want to sound hard, but if you know me, now I'm telling you, all the love in the world, and I don't want to sound condescending and mean and stuff like that. But the truth of the matter is you cannot, I think you feel good about, I'm doing a great job, I was this, I was that, and you have nobody to